Okay, on to example number 2. Okay, so example number 2, plane altitude. The plane begins to land at the Calgary airport from an altitude of 8,000 meters at a rate of 1,000 meters per minute. Complete the table of values and graph for this situation. Okay, so when it begins its descent, okay, it is 0 minutes. So that's when we start the timer. So the height of the plane, or the altitude of the plane, is going to be 8,000 meters. After 1 minute, okay, the rate is going to be, you guessed it, 7,000 meters, because its descent is 1,000 meters per minute. So after 2 minutes, it's going to be 6,000. After 3 minutes, it's going to be 5,000. After 4 minutes, it's going to be 4,000. After 5 minutes, it is going to be 3,000. After 6 minutes, it's going to be 2, and so on and so forth. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to complete the graph, okay? So, and I did it again. Hold on. There. Okay. Okay, so let's label our axes. We should always be labeling our axes. So I'm going to call this time. Time is the independent variable. Time is always going to go on the horizontal axis. Horizontal means side to side. And our altitude, I'm going to call it A. So our altitude is going to be in meters. The next thing that I am going to do is I'm going to set up a scale. So for my horizontal axis, so where time is, we always start at 0. And I'm going to skip every second block. So I'm going to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, because I want this to be legible. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Did I do that? Good. Yeah. Okay. So now our altitude, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to skip every other one. So I'm going up by 500. So it's going to be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, and 8,000. Okay, so now let's plot our points. So when time is equal to 0, my altitude is 8,000. After 1 minute, it is 7,000. After 2 minutes, it is 6,000. And your graph should model what the plane is doing. Your plane is descending. I'm going to continue this on. Okay, now we got to think about whether or not we're going to join our points. Can the plane be at a height of 5,000, I'm guessing here, 5,525? Well, that would put it somewhere, and again, it shifted on me. Just a minute here, sorry guys. There. Okay. So, could the plane be at, for example, and I'm going to use green, could my plane be at this particular height right there? Yeah, it can, okay? So in this case, we definitely want to join our points, okay? So I'm going to use a straight line in red, I hope. Yeah. And I'm going to join my points. So it's going to look something like that, okay? The points in between definitely make sense. So now let's complete the rest of the questions here. So we're going to represent the data as a set of ordered pairs. So we open up our curly brackets and we're going to have 0 time is 8,000 when we begin the descent. After 1 minute, it's 7,000. After 2 minutes, it is 6,000. Be careful when you're doing this because you could end up starting to go up in the scale. It's very easy to make a mistake, so just be careful. Concentrate while you're doing this. See, I almost did it. With 1 minute left, we are at 1,000 meters, and when it's 0 for our, or sorry, see, I made a mistake. You got to be really, really careful here. I know somebody would have called me on it. Okay. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. After 5 minutes, we are at a height of 3,000. After 6 minutes, we are at a height of 2,000. After 7 minutes, we are at a height of 1,000. There we go. After 8 minutes, we are at a height of 0. Okay, close your set brackets. Okay, determine the following for situation 2. So the plane's altitude, our input values. So that is time. Our output values is the altitude. Our independent variable is time. Time is almost always independent. Our dependent variable, okay, our altitude depends on the time. So it's altitude. Now, is the data continuous or discrete? Well, in the previous example, it was discrete. In this case, it is continuous. Now, this continuous does not mean that the data goes on forever, because clearly it does not, right? It has a beginning and it has an end. So don't confuse that, okay? So in this case, it is continuous because all the points, even in between, work for the data. So, yes, points should be connected because all the points in between make sense. Okay, choose the equation below that matches the graph. What strategies can you use to verify? Okay, so what you're going to do, same idea as before. We're going to choose an equation, okay? Now we got to think about what is happening. We are starting our descent at 8,000 meters. And it is descending 1,000 meters per minute. That is our rate. Okay, this is a rate. So that means that if we are descending we are taking away 1,000 times the number of minutes. So the equation that will work is B. Now we're going to use the equation to algebraically determine when the altitude will reach 3,500 meters. Okay, so our altitude A is equal to 3,500 meters. We need to know what is our time. So we're calculating time. So use your equation. A equals 8,000. Take away 1,000 t. All right. So our altitude, we want to get to 3,500 meters. You're solving for t. So 3,500, take away 8,000 is equal to negative 1,000 t. So 3,500, take away 8,000 gives me negative 4,500. Solve for t by dividing by negative 1,000 on both sides. And that is going to give me 4.5 is equal to t. So it'll take 4.5 minutes. All right, use the equation to algebraically determine the altitude at 5.5 minutes. So in this case, t is equal to 5.5. So A equals 8,000. Take away 1,000 t. A equals 8,000 minus 1,000 and substitute in the 5.5. And you can put all of this into your calculator. And our altitude is going to be 2,500 meters. Okay. So the altitude is 2,500 meters. Okay, so next you've got the check your understanding. On the next page, we've got the solutions, okay? So, answers to check your understanding. The questions that I want you to focus on is the data continuous or discrete? Should the dots on the graph be connected? Why or why not? I really want you to focus on those because this is actually quite important. We are going to revisit this in Math 10C, okay? So stay tuned for the next video. It will be coming up.